If you could pursue anything in the world and you would be guaranteed to not fail, what dream would you pursue? What thing would you go after knowing that success was the only option? You were tuned into the Greatest Asset Community Podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Middlebrooks, and in this episode, we are talking about failure and work ethic. So I talk to a lot of people on a weekly basis concerning purchasing a home because a lot of them are fearful or scared that what's going to happen in the economy that might cause me to lose my home, or what if I purchase this home and then the housing market drops shortly thereafter? What if I lose my job and I can't afford to make the monthly payments? There are a lot of questions that I receive on a weekly basis from potential home buyers that often revolve around fear, things that they're afraid of. And that's why I wanted to dive a little bit more into some of these things that are driving our fear and our work ethic behind that as well. And so with me being a mortgage loan officer and really passionate about the real estate industry, we're going to start this conversation in real estate, but we're going to end in a much bigger and better place that I think is going to benefit you by the end of this podcast. And so history is made by people who were willing to pursue success despite experiencing many failures. They weren't deterred by those failures, but in fact, they were encouraged to continue to pursue their dreams until they saw the achievement of those dreams. And so that's something that I really want to plant in your mind. If you just go to Google or whatever your preferred search engine is and just Google famous people that experienced many failures before achieving success, there is an endless list of so many individuals that started out trying to pursue something, failed over and over and over again, and many of them actually were broke. They didn't have any money, and yet they continued to pursue their dreams despite the fact that they didn't have any money. And I think that's key because I'm going to hit on this same topic a little bit later in the podcast about how money is a deterrent for so many people in accomplishing their dreams and what they want to accomplish. When many of these famous people whose names you're familiar with, or at least you're familiar with the works that they've created, a lot of them didn't have any money, but they were still able to continue to strive and pursue their dreams and see the accomplishment of those dreams, despite the fact that they experienced failure after failure after failure with no money, hard circumstances and situations, and yet still found that success at the end of it. So success, or rather failure, is a part of the process of achieving success. Don't look at failure as something that is, to be avoided. Failure is something that we need to go through, because by going through failure allows us to dig deeper. It allows us to work harder, to discover new things, and to develop a resilience within us that we will need not only to succeed, but to maintain that success once we do achieve it. And so failure is necessary. If there was something that you were achieving, or if everything that you wanted to achieve just worked for you when you tried it, you would never develop the grit that you need to develop. You would never develop the character. You would never develop the things that it takes for you to maintain that level of success, but also to compete with others on that level of success that you're trying to maintain. Because you better believe that when you achieve a level of success, there are people coming up behind you trying to achieve that same level or achieve a level even higher than what you've been able to achieve. And so knowing that it's only going to get more and more challenging. And if you're not able to develop the character and the work ethic that you need to develop when you're here, then you're never going to have what it takes to even move up to another level. And if you happen to jump to that next level, you will soon find out that, oh, you know what? I'm getting crushed by the weight of this success that I'm not prepared for. I mean, a lot of people may either know personally someone who experienced success very quickly, but then found that the weight of that success was something that crushed them because they were not prepared to walk into and maintain that level of success. And if you don't know anyone in particular or personally, just Google athletes that are now broke and looking for, or, are working regular day jobs. And that's not to hit on athletes, even though I'm going to talk about athletes a little bit further in this podcast as well. That's not to try and point fingers at athletes, but that's to say that athletes in particular are a group of individuals who reach a level of success and they reach a level of financial wealth. They reach a level really quickly, and a lot of them aren't prepared to maintain that level. You find there are a lot of athletes who earn a lot of money within a short period of time, and a lot of them lose a lot of that money within a short period of time too, because they don't have the knowledge on how to make that money grow. They don't have the wisdom on how to invest that money so that it lasts throughout the rest of their life, but also lasts for their kids and their kids' kids. Because if they had the right guidance, if they had the right people that were pushing them and guiding them in the right areas, then the large amount of money that they made in that short period of time would have lasted not only their lives, but, one or two generations after them. And even further, if you teach other people how to do the right things with those resources. So again, I use that as an example to say that there are people who can achieve a level of success, but then they can't maintain it because they weren't prepared for it when they got it. There are other people, not even in just the financial sense, but you have people that go viral or people that become, it seems, overnight celebrities, but then when they get there, if you're not prepared to step on that stage when it's handed to you, then that light that is now that light that now shines down on you will expose you rather than, revealing who you are. And I got a little bit of that from Myron Golden, but rather than revealing you, it will expose you. And so that is something that you want to keep in mind when it comes to failure, because failure is not something to be avoided. It is something that is necessary for us to go through, because through those many, many failures, we are becoming better and better at whatever field or arena it is that we're looking to achieve success in. So James 1:2-4. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So that is a couple verses from the chapter of James in the Bible, speaking on when you fall into trials, count it joy. Have the patience to let these trials that you're going through work in you, so that it can produce something that's now going to allow you to be a greater asset in the field that you're looking to dominate. So I'm gonna butcher this a little bit, but I'm gonna try and do the best that I can with this paraphrase. So Myron Golden says it like this: Continue working on the thing that doesn't seem to be working for you until you become the person for which it can work for. And what he means by that is there's a lot of things that we'll do, especially when we're trying to achieve success in an area and we're working and working and working, but the things that we're working on don't seem to be working for us. But what you don't realize is it's actually working in you. It's working on you to make you into the person for which it can work for. So, for example, I play piano, as you can see right here to my side or right behind me. I play the piano. When you start playing the piano, you are not hopping on the piano and great at it with just playing great compositions and doing all the runs and knowing the chords and the gospel keys and the jazz and neo soul or whatever it might be, genre of music that you like. That stuff doesn't just come instantaneously. It takes a lot of practice, years of consistent practice to get to the point to where you are great at playing the keyboard. So what tends to happen is a lot of people want to learn how to play an instrument. And so we'll use the keyboard as an example or the piano as an example. when you get started, a lot of people learn how to play scales. They learn how to play major scales. So you learn how to play a scale, but then you learn, oh, there's another key that I have to learn. And that key has different notes. And there's another key, and there's 12 different keys on this piano that I need to learn how to play the scale in. And all 12 of those keys, they're hitting different notes at different times. And so that's one thing. And then after you learn scales, well, now you need to learn chords. And then you learn chords, and it's like, well, you got this left hand too, and you got to learn how to play your left hand and your right hand together. And so you learn that, and it's like, okay, well, now you learn runs, and then you learn the circle of fifths, and now you learn flatted sevenths and flatted fifths. And then now you're learning different types of chords that go with different types of genres, and what runs go with what types of, there's so much stuff that gets thrown at you in this learning process. It can become overwhelming, and many people just give up after learning a few scales and a few chords. And they're like, you know what? I'm good. I'm done. I don't need to learn anymore. I don't want to be great. It is too much. And that's where they stop. But if you were to continue on with that learning process, if you were to continue on with working through the scales, working through the chords, working through the runs, working through learning all of the different licks and all the different tricks and all of the different things that are going to make you phenomenal, it takes a while. You go through this period where you're like, this isn't working. This isn't working. I'm still struggling and still fumbling over the same notes that I'm trying to play in this song. I can't even remember all of it. Seems like it's not working, but you continue working on it because it's working on you. So you continue to work the thing that doesn't seem to be working and let it continue working on you until you become that person for which it can work. And so you reach that point where it's like, you know what? I'm getting this a lot better than what I was 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago. And so now you find out, you know what? I can play these chords, I can play these songs, and I'm not even looking at the keys anymore. I can kind of do this stuff from memory. Let's jump into something else. And then the more that you start building that foundation, the quicker it is to grow from that foundation, because the next things that you learn don't take as long as the first things that you learned when it was brand new to you. So again, that thing that didn't seem like it was working for you was working on you, just hammering out what needed to be hammered out in you until you became that person for which now it can work for you. Now this piano can work for you. You know how to play this piano now, so it can work for you to sit down and you just being able to play something that's music to somebody's ears. And the same thing happens with many arenas in life, not just playing the piano, but using that as an example, where a lot of people get started on something, but it's always the hardest when you get started on something. It's always, you're going to meet the most resistance when you're trying to get that boulder started, when you're pushing something that's, a big task that you're trying to accomplish. It's always harder when you get started. But once you get that thing moving a little bit and you start building up that momentum, it's like a flywheel. You hit that point to where it's just seems effortless. Someone throws something else at you. It's almost like, if you've ever taken it back to the piano for a minute, if you've ever heard someone who was gifted at playing the piano, if you've ever seen them in practice and someone throws out a song and they're like, hey, can you play this song? It might be a song that they've never played before, but they're able to figure it out in a matter of minutes, sometimes in a matter of seconds. They're able to just figure it out because they've developed so many tools to where if they know what the song sounds like, they can figure it out really quickly. And you reach that point, kind of like that flywheel, where getting to that point, is really hard, just pushing, and every push seems like it's not getting you there. But there's a story that's told in a book called From Good to Great. And it's written by Jim Collins, I believe. It's called Good to Great. And it's a really good book that I recommend reading about good companies making that transition to becoming great companies. But it talks about this flywheel effect and how you have these companies, as they start out, it's really hard just getting started pushing this thing. And then when you look back and you hit this breakthrough point where now it's like everything just seems to be firing on all cylinders. And then you look back and you can't point to one single instance in which everything changed for you. Like, what push was it that actually got you to the breakthrough? It was all the pushes. It was the first push that was really hard to get that thing started. It was the next push to where it seemed like we were only moving an inch every couple days to the next. Every push was important to getting to that point to where now you've reached that breakthrough point and that flywheel is just turning. It's like that with any endeavor that you start. You have to continue to work at it. You have to continue to push at it until you get to that point to where, you know what, now it's easier for you. Someone just throws out, hey, I need you to play this in the key of G. And you're like, oh, I got that. I need you to do this for this client in whatever field you're working. Oh, I got that. Why? Because you've developed those tools that will allow you to be able to take those steps and act more quickly than what you would have if you haven't developed those tools. And so you have to continue to persevere. You have to continue to work through those failures because they're developing something in you and they're working on you to build you into the person for which now the thing that you are doing can work for you. It doesn't work for you when you start. This playing this keyboard doesn't work for you when it starts. If you play guitar and you're getting started learning how to play the guitar, it ain't working for you. Whatever you do, it ain't working. But if you continue to practice and work on it and allow it to work on you, then you are getting molded into the person for which it can work. So I want to take this back to sports for a little bit and talk about LeBron James. LeBron James, arguably the greatest basketball player to play in the NBA. In my opinion, he is the greatest basketball player to play in the NBA, but I know some people think that's Jordan, and that's fine. It is what it is. That's not the point of this discussion. The point is that LeBron James is not the biggest person. He's about 6'9". He's not the tallest person to ever play in the NBA. He's not the fastest person to ever play. He's not the strongest person to ever play in the NBA. He's not even the best shooter to play in the NBA. He's not the best dunker to ever play in the NBA. There was a guy, Vince Carter, one of the best dunkers, in my opinion, just phenomenal. Anytime his feet left the ground, it was just amazing to watch him play basketball. LeBron James is not the best person to dunk a basketball, to shoot a basketball, or any of that stuff. But yet, as the greatest player to ever play in the NBA, what is it? If he wasn't the best at any of that stuff, how is it that he's the greatest to play in the NBA? And in my opinion, it has everything to do with an unmatched work ethic. Yes, he does have height. 6'9" is not short. He does have strength. He does have some speed. He can jump. He's not the best at any of those things, but he has a little bit of all of those things. But outside of that, he has an unmatched work ethic. This guy works extremely hard, consistently on his game to develop himself to be the best and to stay at a level where he can compete among the best of the best of the best in his field. And that's something that a lot of people don't have. And a lot of people also don't realize that you could give LeBron James's height, strength, speed, whatever, you could give that to someone else who does not have his work ethic, and that individual never sets foot on an NBA court. That is how big of a difference it makes to have the proper work ethic when you are pursuing any endeavor. You can give someone else's skill, someone else's ability, someone else's everything, and you remove the work ethic and it all falls to pieces. None of it remains. You have to have the work ethic. And so I say that because most of us are working jobs that don't require us to be athletic. Most of us are working jobs that you don't even have to be the smartest in your field, but you do have to be smart enough to surround yourself with smart people. You do have to have a determination that allows you to outwork everyone else in your field. You do have to have those things, but you don't have to be the smartest in your field. You don't have to be athletic for most of the jobs that we do. And check this, a lot of the people that are the top people in your field right now, they're not the smartest people. A lot of the people that are the top people in your field right now, they're not the people with the best ideas. They're not the most talented people, but they're the people that's outworking you. How many how many people, and you may know of some of them because you know your field better than I know your field. How many people that you have come across in your field who you're like, man, I've got way better ideas than that. They are not the smartest person in the book. I don't know how they made it. How many times have you said that about someone that you've seen working in your field? I have no idea how this person has succeeded. They're not even that great at what they do. One thing that they may do is outwork you. They outwork you in every single area. And hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. That's a saying that I first heard when I was in high school running track. Was that hard work will beat talent when talent don't work hard. And there are a lot of talented individuals in the world, and you know of a lot of talent that you may have. However, you also know that you might not be giving it your all. For example, when you clock out of your job, is that when the work stops for you? Because for a lot of people, it is. A lot of people, when they clock out of their job, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm off the clock. They go home. Maybe they dig into some food, binge on whatever streaming service they want to binge on, go to sleep, wash, rinse, repeat, do it all over again the next day. However, the people that are getting after it, the LeBron Jameses that are getting after it, those individuals, when they're off the clock, they're not off the clock. They're going and doing studying. They're studying in a sports setting, game film. They're studying their opponents. They're studying themselves to see where they've made mistakes. They're studying new plays. They're in the weight room conditioning. So equate that to whatever it is you do. And maybe you're not working in the field that you want to be working in. Maybe this is just a job where you're working in, but that off time, are you spending it studying and refining your skills in the area that you do want to work in? Because if you're not, again, that's wasted time, and you're never going to get these days back. There is no day that you can just save and come back to at a later time. Once that time is gone, it's gone. So if you spend all your evenings binging on Netflix and eating whatever you eat, and you're not spending that time refining your skills, but then you're wondering why you can't find that success. Well, this is why, because to get what those people have that are able to operate at the highest levels of their field, you have to have that work ethic that, you know what, I'm off the clock, but I'm not off the clock. I need to go learn a new skill set. I need to go read a new book, read a new book. Read a new book, read a new book. One thing you will find about a lot of multimillionaires and a lot of super successful entrepreneurs is that they read a ton of books. They acquire a lot of information from people. How many books have you read this year? We're in March right now. How many books have you read this year? Because you should have at least completed a couple of books this year, at least if you're trying to operate on the same level as some of the multimillionaire or billionaire entrepreneurs that are in your field that you desire to, achieve that same level of success. How many books have you started this year? Have you started any? Have you completed any? How many television shows have you completed? How many movies have you watched this year? Because if you equate that time that you've spent watching whatever shows that you're watching or whatever movies that you've watched, if you would have taken all that time and poured that time into finishing a book, maybe you'd be 5 or 6 books finished with this year already, because you may have watched, I don't know, a few days worth of content online in a streaming service. But what if you had a few days worth of information that you had acquired from reading a book, or from listening to an audiobook, or from putting together a business proposal or a business plan? How much further along would you be toward accomplishing whatever it is you're wanting to accomplish? A lot of people say that they want to accomplish something great, But then if I gave you all of the money that you needed to accomplish your dreams within a short period of time, most people would lose all of that money because they don't have any clue what it takes to operate at that level, and they don't have any clue of what it takes to maintain that once they get it, or to even grow from it. So they might get it and then never grow it. They might not even be able to help other people who would like to be like them because they can't tell you what it takes to even get there or to stay there. Because again, there are a lot of people who want to operate a multi-million-dollar business, but you don't even have a business plan. You don't even have a well thought out business plan. You haven't even done a market analysis for what your competition is doing in the area that you're looking to service in. You may have not even done a cost analysis for what you need to sell your goods and your services for to just break even from the cost that you're going to have to incur. You might just be thinking of a number of what someone else is charging and say, I can charge that same thing, but you haven't even done a cost analysis to see what it is that you actually need to be charging people for whatever service or whatever good it is that you're providing to other people. These are the things that, again, people who are operating at that high level, they're not spending all of their time just binging on social media or binging on streaming services. You want to reach that next level, it requires a certain level of work ethic. And even with all of that work ethic, it requires a level of grit and determination to continue to pursue and persevere and push through all of those failures that you are going to encounter. You're gonna have failures when you're pursuing anything that's worth achieving. And those failures are good because it's gonna cause you to work harder. It's gonna cause you to push deeper and to go after, to discover new things and to develop new skill sets in new areas that you're gonna need so that you can find that success. And once you find that success, you've developed all of these things to where now you are that person for where this thing is working for you now. Whatever it is you're trying to do, it's working for you now because it's worked on you. It's developed all the things in you that needed to be developed so that now you are that person that it can work for. So moving on a little bit more from there, wanted to talk a little bit about a different field. Let's talk about fast food for a minute. Chick-fil-A is the highest grossing fast food restaurant, higher than all the other restaurants, and Chick-fil-A is only open 6 days a week. It does more with 6 days than what all these other restaurants are doing with 7 days. What am I getting at? Chick-fil-A has a great business model, and there are some other fast food restaurants that don't have as good of service, don't have as great a quality of food, yet they are in the top 5 or the top 8 fast food restaurant chains in the country. But their service isn't that great and their food isn't that great. So how is it that they are within the top 5 and they don't have those things? Now, Chick-fil-A has all those things and they're number 1. But what about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? They're still billion-dollar companies, but they don't have all those things. What I'm getting at is that there is someone out there, multiple people out there, who are specialists at culinary arts, who had ideas that were better than what you might see out there with McDonald's or Wendy's, or name your other fast food place that you may or may not frequent as much. There are other individuals who desire to achieve a level of success along those same lines as some of the great fast food places. However, they started here, and as they started at that ground level trying to build that foundation and were working their way up, they reached that point to where this is hard, this is tough, and they never pushed through that that barrier to reach that breaking point where now it becomes a lot easier for them. They never pushed through that point to where it was, you know what, it's rough and I got to figure this out and I got to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing because it takes a lot of grit. Ray Kroc, when he made McDonald's what it is today, met a lot of failure before he landed huge success in the chain that we know as McDonald's now. So he met a lot of failure with business after business after business that failed. And he even met some, pushback and failures at the onset of trying to start McDonald's and everything, or which was already started, but trying to work with the McDonald's brothers and everything that, fell out from there. So again, he met a lot of failures before he reached the success to build McDonald's to what it is today. And how many people out there have ideas in culinary arts that are better than what you see out there right now when you're driving along the road and you pass by those fast food signs and you might like one or two out of the 4 or 5 options that are on there, when all of them could be great options if the people that had the great ideas just had the work ethic and the determination to continue to persevere through the failures, through the tough times, and through everything else to see the better days. That's the stuff that I really, really want to drive home to you, is how much better would the world be if you were operating at a better version of yourself? Because like I said, we all know people that are out there who are working in our field that are not as talented as you, but they are way more successful than you are, making way more money than you are, having way more impact and influence on the world than what you have, because they're outworking you. And that is the one thing that's separating where they are from where you're not, where you are right now. And where you could be, where you are right now and where you could be. That one thing that's separating that is work ethic. In many cases, you're just not working hard enough. You're not putting in the same level of work as what your peers are putting in. And so when it comes to failure, failure is just part of it. Failure is part of growth. Failure is part of success. You can't point to one individual out there who tried something, succeeded at it, and then once he found success, maintained that success and continued to grow that success far beyond his peers. You can't find it. You name someone, you can't find it. Everyone experiences failure. It's how you continue to push through that failure that makes the difference. And not only that, it's the work ethic that you put in to your day to day, what you're doing with your time every single day that makes the difference in whether or not you're going to be someone that we'll be talking about 20 years from now, 40 years from now, someone that our kids or our grandkids are going to be talking about. Look at so-and-so and how they had the work ethic to continue to push past. And now we're enjoying this great thing that you were able to bring forth because of how you continue to persevere through failure, how you continue to persevere through the hardships and everything else that comes with achieving a certain level of success. So again, that's what I want to leave you all with, is just the work ethic and the failures. You have to have the work ethic to push through the failures. You can't have the one without the other. And so bringing it back around to even something as small as purchasing a home, and it seems so insignificant now that we've been talking about these huge dreams, and you're going to bring it back to something so small as purchasing a home. But you know what? You start small and then you build bigger from there. So if something as small as purchasing a home seems like an insurmountable task for you, and I kid you not, I hear it almost on a weekly basis with people telling me, I don't think I'll ever be able to purchase a home because homes are too expensive. And I really just want to say, you're right. You're never going to be able to purchase a home, but it has nothing to do with the price of the home. It has everything to do with your mindset. It has everything to do with the fact that you are undervaluing your ability to outwork your peers to be able to make the kind of money to where purchasing this home is a drop in the bucket. You're undervaluing the skill set that you're able to develop, which will allow you to earn increase your earning power and your earning potential far beyond your wildest dreams right now, to where purchasing $1 million home would be nothing for you. Purchasing a $500,000 home would be nothing for you. But I meet so many people who are so defeated by housing prices. Yes, housing prices are getting higher. They've been increasing throughout the history of the housing market. So what? Who cares? You are also getting better, or at least you have the ability to continue to get better. You have the ability to continue to improve your quality of life, to improve your living. Maybe you're working at a job right now which has you at a ceiling in terms of how much you can make. But guess what? That doesn't mean that's the only job you can ever work in your career or in your life. You have the ability to learn a new skill set, whether that means going back to school, whether that means learning a trade, whether that means you digging into the books instead of digging into social media or digging into a streaming service and just wasting your time. Maybe it means you digging into some online material that's going to educate you, or maybe you investing in yourself and in your education and purchasing some reading material that's actually going to help you grow to learn and become who you need to learn and become, so that you can do the things and live that life that you really think you can't live right now because housing prices are too high. Again, so many of the people that achieved success were met with failure. And many of them did not have the money to go to school, but what they did have was a determination to continue to work hard and educate themselves to get to that point to where, you know what, they found that success. J.K. Rowling is one that comes to mind. She wrote the Harry Potter series. She had little to no money. She was divorced. She was a single mother. She failed many times in her previous, writings and attempts, but yet she met success because she continued to persevere. Again, that's one. There are so many others. Walt Disney, Tyler Perry, Oprah. There's a lot of people, regardless of how you may feel about them or whether you like what they've created, they've managed to reach a level of success that few ever will, because they have something that few people do not take the time to obtain, which is the skill set that's built through discipline, that's built through a work ethic that allows you to push through all of those failures. So again, when I hear people telling me that, oh, they're never going to be able to purchase a home because home prices are too expensive, and I just want to say, yes, home prices are so expensive. What is the ceiling that's stopping you from making more money? What is it that's keeping you from learning a new skill, if that's what it takes? What is it that's keeping you from growing in your current career field right now? Or if you don't want to be in your career field, what's stopping you from starting on a new path into another career field where you can dominate that career field? I mean, what is it that's stopping you? You are the only thing that's stopping you from being able to achieve what you want to achieve. Again, purchasing a home, once you get to the point to where you've purchased a home or two or five, you realize like, okay, this is not as big as I thought it was. There's something so much bigger, so much greater out there for me to achieve. You just have to continue to push through the failures, push through, turn off the noise first. Stop listening to the news. Because the news has nothing good out there for you. It's all bad news. I don't even listen to the news. I've gone the last couple years and I don't even listen to the news. Every now and then I might turn on talk radio for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I immediately switch to something that's more beneficial for me. Maybe I'm listening to an audiobook when I'm driving, or I'm watching a YouTube video from a pastor or someone who's actually filling me up with something that is beneficial for me. But I don't listen to all of the bad, negative news that's out there, because none of that's doing me any good to just hear political garbage, just, going back and forth all the time. So again, start paying more attention to and being intentional about what it is that you're listening to, what you're ingesting, what you're consuming, and you will be able to accomplish a lot of those things that you think are out of reach for you right now. Again, a house, such a small thing. A lot of people look at it as this huge purchase because for most people, it will be the biggest purchase of your life. So I'm not going to say that buying a house is insignificant. By no means is it insignificant, but it's not as big as you're making it to be. It is a big purchase, but it's not as big as many people are making it to be. Again, you have the potential to do something so much greater with your life on such a higher level than just purchasing a home. So that's what I want to leave you with. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. Please hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me to push this podcast and this content out to a lot more people. Do like and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me on social media, GA Loan Officer on Instagram and TikTok. And we'll see you back in the next episode. Take care. Be blessed.